Okay, today I was looking at. Get off my screen. I was looking at an article for the IndyStar. Um, and I'll read it together with you and give you my thoughts. This has to do with Aly Raisman, Mckayla Maroney, Jordan Weber now, thanks to a very reliable source who's been helping me find information on all these hundreds of articles. This one I actually searched up on my own, but it has to deal with an interview that the Indy Star did on Larry Nassar back in January 23rd of 2018, and it was last updated on January 24th, 2018. Larry Nassar was sometimes arrogant, sometimes nervous during only interview on sex abuse, written by Tim Evans at IndyStar.com. Please do not harass him. Thank you. IndyStar Motor, okay, blah, blah. That's not it. I've conducted somewhere around 10,000 interviews in my 40 years as a journalist. I don't know how possible that is, but it could be possible. But one in particular has been on my mind lately. It was my September 12th, 2016 face-to-face meeting with longtime USA Gymnastics team doctor Larry Nassar. The reflection was spurred by days of raw emotional testimony over the last week in a Michigan courtroom. More than 100 amazingly strong women detailed the physical and mental struggles they experienced after being sexually assaulted by Nassar under the guise of medical treatment, even though none of them appeared or seemed or acted distraught or abused or anything at all before. Their Instagrams at this around the same time, because I've looked at some of them. Aly Raisman and Mckayla Maroney and Simone Biles, they all looked extremely happy around this time. Yet here they were so depressed and wanted and feared for their life. Oh my God, it must have been horrible going to the beach and going to the gymnastics arena to train. Oh my God, it must have been so bad, even though you're smiling and all of this stuff and laughing and playing around. Oh my God, I cannot imagine. Anyway, continuing on. Let me see. I lost my spot. Here we go, guys. Medical treatment. Their horror stories have been covered on live TV and spread across the internet, attracting worldwide attention to what many are calling the worst sex case abuse scandal. And I had to make sure I was recording, sorry. And American sports. Nassar, a 54-year-old physician who also worked at Michigan State University, faces up to 125 years in prison. And whatever sentence he receives won't even begin until he completes a 60-year sentence handed down last month in a federal child porn case. Now, that's very interesting. I don't recall ever hearing about the child porn case. So I'm gonna have to do more research on that case, but it's very dangerous to research child porn cases on the internet, because then the government has trigger words. If you type in how to make a bomb, child porn case, blah 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 blah, the government has like trigger words and trigger phrases where they will put you on a list, on a suspect list that I learned in my law classes that I've taken, the 2 law classes that I've taken. And I don't know how true it is, but apparently they put you on a list. So I don't know if I'll even be able to look into the Larry Nassar child porn case. And I don't know if these two are one and the same or not. But that's interesting. I was part of the IndyStar investigative team along with Mark, Alicia, and Melissa Quaticosa. Hang on. Quakowski, that first exposed Nassar's crimes in a story published in September 13th of 2016. To the best of my knowledge, I was the first and still the only journalist to interview Nassar about the sexual abuse allegations. I'm pretty sure there were more than you, dude. Nassar came to our attention about a month before the interview. It was August 4th, 2016. That was the same day we published a story revealing USA Gymnastics officials kept sexual abuse complaint files on scores of coaches. I do remember hearing about that on Entertainment Tonight. A garbage tier news faction. Only garbage because it's mostly celebrity bullshit that has no effect on anyone's lives or on the sheep of the world. But failed to report many of those allegations to law enforcement. It was part of an internet executive policy. Among the many gymnasts who contacted us in the days after that story ran were 3 who wanted to share stories about a treatment they received from Nassar as minors struggling with sports injuries. Looking back now, the young women told us they were convinced they had been sexually assaulted. So they didn't even know. They did not even know if they were sexually assaulted. If you aren't certain, that probably means you weren't. Touching your leg or your foot or feeling like pushing in on your stomach gently to look for abnormalities is not sexual assault. Feeling your neck and gently pressing your fingers together, looking for lumps, damage, muscle spasms, cancers, whatever he does, that's not sexual assault. That is standard procedure. My doctors even pressed in on my stomach to see if I had a bowel blockage before. Laugh at that if you will, but it's the truth. They weren't even sure. And then their parents probably said, well, we can get a lot more money out of this if we take this to court. That's probably what happened. Hearing their remarkably similar accounts because they rehearsed it, we set out to see if there was something to the story. My job was to learn about Nassar's alleged use of an invasive intravaginal procedure, then try to arrange an interview with gymnastics and sports medicine icon, the gymnastics, sorry about that, I'm flubbing a lot. After talking to medical experts and spending hours reading medical literature on the internet, I reached out to Nassar on September 6th of 2016. I started by calling the Michigan State University clinic where Nassar worked. A receptionist said he wasn't there and didn't know when he would return. My next option was to send emails to Nassar at both his MSU and personal accounts. I didn't expect a response, so when I checked my email the next morning, I was surprised to see 2 messages from Nassar in my inbox. I'm sorry, this is a quote from what he supposedly said. I am very sorry for what has occurred with this misunderstanding of my medical care. It was a misunderstanding. It wasn't actually really a misunderstanding. It was blatant trying to get money out of someone for something they did not do. It saddens me greatly to think that these gymnasts feel I offended them when I was trying to help them the first day. Now see, let's look at this image. This is taken from Becky Schink, the Lansing State Journal. Let's look at him. He doesn't appear to be lusting. He appears to be looking for a response by pressing her toes outward and up on her heel or against her heel. Do you feel any pain? My doctor's done this. When I sprung my ankle, my doctor did this as a diagnosis. And 2, why any man in his right mind would be attracted to a woman that has dirty toenails? Like, that just... Okay, anyway, moving on. He continued to say, I think it would be best for us to meet and discuss this so you have a good understanding of these procedures. I would like to meet at my house next week, Thursday morning at 9:30 a.m. if that works for you. I would like the meeting to be private between you and I to openly discuss this. These tapes that he apparently recorded some of these procedures, which I'll get to later on. The second email from Nassar was sent about an hour after the first. My wife told me this morning that I should talk to my lawyer first, which is brilliant, very intelligent thing to do, about our meeting, and meet with the lawyer instead of at our house. That may be best, okay? ? Larry. I quickly wrote back to Nassar. I offered to meet him that night or the next day. I also sent Nassar my cell phone number. Later that afternoon, Nassar's then attorney, Matthew Borgula, sounds Russian, called me. He wanted to know more about the allegations and discuss the possibility of an interview. I asked for a few minutes to gather the team and our editors in a conference room, then called Borgula back. By then, Borgula told us he and Nassar were aware that one of the women who contacted us also had filed a complaint with the MSU police. He may be willing to talk to you. These three women, I'm thinking, are Jordan Weber, Aly Raisman, and Mckayla Maroney. I'm feeling it, and I could be wrong, but I'm feeling it. Or remove Jordan Weber and no, yeah, remove Jordan Weber, replace her with Simone Biles. I have a feeling. He may be willing to talk to you, Borgula said. There's a serious risk of destroying this man's reputation, which is what they set out to do, just based on the mere allegations of some sort of sexual assault. Yes, that is exactly what happened. They wanted to destroy a guy's career to raise their own, because they were all their popularity was failing. As I've said before, Mckayla Maroney and Aly Raisman posted in two different interviews. I'm still trying to find the Mckayla Maroney one. It's hard. Mckayla said this one right here, not Aly Raisman. Aly Raisman said it's difficult to keep going or whatever after the Olympics are done and over with. Mckayla said it's hard to climb back to the top when you've hit rock bottom in your career. And then, a week later, all these girls are coming out and saying that they were sexually abused. And they're all back in the spotlight again. Borgula had been hired to look into allegations surrounding Nassar's departure from the USA Gymnastics and communicate the doctor's position. Declined to comment Monday, citing attorney-client privilege. Within right. That's within right. It's not clear what the attorney knew at the time, but his willingness to make Nassar available for an interview says he didn't know the full story. But in that call, Borgula issued the first of what would be several denials on behalf of Nassar. He said that the doctor said he never used any procedure involving vaginal penetration. I told him that claim was contrary to what the three women alleged. And if you watch the tapes, you will see not once did he ever penetrate one of the girls' vaginas. Not once. And that's me, because I've seen the tapes on Entertainment Tonight, which I'm going to bring up again later. He adamantly denies any wrongdoing. He adamantly denied any intravaginal examinations, and he's never had any type of an exam or procedure done on a minor without the mother present, Borgula said. And you will see, here it is, you will see in those, and I think they're still on YouTube, they might not. He recorded hundreds of these procedures. Probably as like an assurance that if something like this happened, he would have proof that he didn't do it, and he didn't do any of it. And it ended up backfiring on him. And you will see their parents, their mother usually, really, were talking to Nassar, and I think they even appeared, like, very slightly, the cameraman turned, and then there was a mother, and they turned back. And I think in one of them, a father was there as well with the mom. Nothing ever happened. And E.T., one of their most reliable stories, they sent their own investigative team of physical examiners to watch these, and I mention this every video, to watch the tapes, the Larry Nassar tapes, and they said the only thing he did wrong was on 2 or 3 occasions that he squeezed the girl's butt. He didn't grab it, well, whatever, he squeezed, almost the same thing. He grabbed 2 of the girls' butts for a few seconds and then let go. They said those were the only things he did wrong. Everything else was standard procedure. Like this article, the people in this article are claiming, minus the Tim Evans or whatever his name is who wrote it. Months later, Nassar would plead guilty to penetrating underage athletes. And testimony last week revealed he often treated girls alone in hotel rooms and training rooms. I've seen other pictures. I think in my last video I posted, I showed this picture. I don't remember. I might not have. I don't remember because I've seen so much on this case. Of him treating a girl, nothing inappropriate, anything like that. There were people around. They were in a training room, and there were other people there. I'm thinking the guy was saying for so long that he was innocent, and then he sees over 100 women, 100 parents, 100 fathers, 100 girls coming out, and he's thinking to himself, it doesn't matter what I say, I'm screwed, so I'm just going to take the guilty verdict. That's what I'm thinking. And that happens more often than people think. It happens more often than people think. He's like, it doesn't matter what I say, they're not going to believe me. And they didn't. They did not believe him. So he just admitted to it, hoping his term would get shorter in jail. His jail term would lessen. and it ended up not happening. He actually got more jail time added on top of what he already had. But that wasn't the story Nassar was telling in 2016. He's a well-respected doctor, Borgula said. He's had thousands of patients. He's been honored in various different capacities, and he feels like he's being thrown in with other investigations that have nothing to do with him. So I appreciate you for giving him the opportunity to respond. Yes, that's true. The conversation ended with an invitation to meet Nassar and Borgula at the attorney's office in Grand Rapids. I again suggested the next day, which was a Thursday, but Borgula said he was tied up the rest of the week. He said we could meet the following Monday. I want him to have a chance to respond before you put his name in that paper. Great idea, Borgula said, because he's adamant he's done nothing wrong, and he thinks this is going to destroy his career, and it ended up doing that. That Monday, I left home at 6 a.m. for the drive to Grand Rapids to meet Nassar and his attorney Borgula's office at Borgula's. Sorry, I'm flubbing so badly. My colleagues were busy working other angles. The Nassar I encountered wasn't the broken man the world saw last week, head down in a courtroom, listening to dozens of victims describe how his abuse ripped apart their innocent young lives. He was not the same man who wrote the judge's 6-page letter complaining about the emotional distress he experienced listening to the survivors. I saw the confident Larry Nassar, buoyed by a reputation as a caring miracle worker. I saw the charismatic doctor, a man with a legion of adoring supporters. I saw the smooth Nassar, a master manipulator who had convinced police and university officials that earlier complaints were misunderstandings and went on molesting young girls. Right here, this is garbage tier writing. This is 100% bias, 100% manipulation. This is the author's opinion. This is all the kinds of wrong in journalism. You are usually not supposed to take a stance in situations such as this. At least not make your stance publicly known in your article. You're supposed to be non-biased. And right here, just because he was confident does not mean he was guilty of molesting young girls. He was probably all built up by Borgula. Borgula, his attorney, probably said, don't worry, you're not going to be found guilty of this. There's no proof because you didn't do it. And he's like, all right, I'm ready for this interview. I'm ready for it. And this guy is just completely warping. Just because he was confident does not mean he did it. He was probably built up by his attorney. His attorney got him to feeling better. You know, they can't prove any of this happened. And he's like, all right, I can handle this interview now. I'm ready for it. So really, garbage tier, Tim Evans. Shame on you. At times, in the about 30 minutes we were together, he came off almost arrogant. That was particularly true. He's probably pissed. He's like, I shouldn't be here. I should not be undergoing this. This is all bullshit. And that's probably why he was arrogant. That was particularly true as he tried to convince me the misunderstanding was the result of the women's ignorance of his sophisticated medical work. According to the other doctors that reviewed these tapes, the investigative team that reviewed these tapes, it was ignorance. It was also greed and trying to stay in the spotlight. And guess what? The spotlight's gone and they're back to being nobodies. These gymnastic girls, they're back to being nobodies. Ignorance of his sophisticated medical work. His demeanor didn't come as a surprise. Nassar was revered in gymnastics and highly regarded internationally as a sports medicine physician, which he was. But at other times, I picked up a different vibe. When we first met, Nassar essentially pleaded that we not write a story. He even indicated he could provide dirt on USA gymnastics officials, obviously their coaches. As we talked, particularly when he wasn't directing the conversation, Nassar came off as much more socially awkward. Faced with a question, he would stammer, social anxiety. I have it. Most people have it. His eyes fluttered. Social anxiety. They're the kind of nonverbal cues I look for during contentious interviews. Now, okay, if he has social anxiety, that's normal. If he's guilty, these are also signs of a guilty person. It's really hard to read the fine line. So just because you see what you want to see, Tim Evans, doesn't mean it's true. He could just be socially awkward. I flubber. Like right there, I just flubbered my word. I flub my words. I have a hard time. I mean, I make eye contact, but my heart beats super fast. I used to not be able to make eye contact. I was that socially awkward. Does that mean I'm guilty? If someone were to ask me something that I didn't even do, like my mother asked me one time, one of her glasses broke, her glass cups broke. She asked me, "We know the truth. Did you break my glass?" And I was like, no, I didn't. And of course, she took it as I'm guilty. I did do it, but I was socially awkward. Now she knows that I didn't do it because I got diagnosed with anxiety, social anxiety by my doctor. So this guy's forcing his opinion where it doesn't fucking belong. Still, I chalked up his odd countenance. I know this word. I'm sorry. I'm just really tired. To the difficult circumstances. I was nervous too. There, I was telling a physician with an unblemished reputation that we were about to publish a story making serious criminal allegations. At that time, I didn't have the benefit of the knowledge the following 60 months would provide. Today, aware that Nassar knew he had committed the crimes, we were about to again. He probably thought to himself, "There's no way they're going to believe me. I'll take whatever the judge says, and hopefully my sentence will be lessened." To expose, and that he had previously faced and quietly eluded similar allegations. His behavior makes more sense. Again, you're making assumptions. When we met in a conference room in Borgula's office, Nassar had a stack of medical books, magazines, and a laptop. Very brilliant. Before agreeing to answer my questions on the record, Nassar asked to show me a video. He said it was one of many he had made for training purposes. Yes, and I've seen some of these. He said he hoped it would help me better understand the medical procedure the three women had misconstrued as sexual assault. 1, they were uncertain. 2, he had videotapes of him doing the examination on them. Again, touching the inner thigh of a female athlete's leg. Not their vagina, their inner thigh of their leg. Trying to feel for muscle tears, muscle spasms, soreness, swelling, things like that is not sexual assault. The video focused on the backside of what appeared to be a young girl. Probably one of them or one of the other ones trying to get into the Olympics. Who knows? This article doesn't list it. She was lying down wearing underwear. My doctor makes me go into my underwear. That's not sexual assault. Nassar worked his hand between her legs. Again, it's not wrong to do this. Massaging the girl's buttocks. Okay, here we go. Touching, grabbing, massaging, whatever. There it is. You have it in writing right here. That doesn't mean he's guilty. It was one of the things that the other physical examination doctor said the only thing they said that he did wrong. But if he warned the girl, warned the parents, and said, "Hey, I'm going to check for muscle spasms on your buttocks. Is it okay?" Did we? And they said yes. I believe it would be okay. There's just a really fine line. There has to be reason to do something, and usually, sometimes, if you're not the head doctor, which I think he was, I could be wrong. I don't know what his actual position was. You have to get permission from higher ups and from the parents and sign forms, a waiver, whatever. I don't know if he did any of that. I have no idea, so I'm not going to comment on it. His hand slowly worked deeper into her crotch, but I never saw any penetration. Here we go. Never saw any penetration. Yet they're claiming he did it to all of them, or most of them. Never saw any. Nassar appeared at ease as he started. Again, he was like, okay, I have evidence right here that I didn't do it. Now, just because he didn't do it to that one particular girl doesn't mean that he didn't do it to the other girls or any other girls or one girl or two girls. No, it doesn't, but it makes the case less one-sided. Nassar appeared without explaining what he was doing, but the presentation was interrupted when my phone pinged with a text message that would end up derailing the interview. My colleague's text confirmed a lawsuit had been filed against Nassar in California. The way I saw it, I had an ethical duty to tell the doctor in Borgula. Well, that's good that you did that, Tim. With this new development, I asked, did they want to continue with the interview? Borgula asked for a copy of the lawsuit. I forwarded him a copy one of my colleagues had sent me. Nassar and his attorney then left the interview room and to review the new allegations from a former Olympian. I waited alone for about 15 minutes before they returned. Although the victim was identified only as Jane Doe, the background and the court record about her Olympic involvement was enough for them to know who she was. So it's prominent Aly Raisman, Jordan Weber, Simone Biles, Mckayla Maroney, one of those liars. Nassar, which I haven't mentioned Simone Biles in a video, I don't believe, which I'm going to have to, because her and Jordan Weber coming out of fucking nowhere weeks after this had been going on makes no sense. And that's a video for a separate, another time. Nassar said he couldn't believe the woman would make such allegations. He said he had a plaque in his office. Okay, so it wasn't from back then. It wasn't one of those girls. It wasn't one of those girls. Scratch that. It was a different girl. He said that he had a plaque in his office that she sent him as a thank you gift after the 2000 Olympics. If he was molesting you, would you send him a thank you plaque? No. No. Just like Mckayla Maroney, Aly Raisman, Jordan Weber, and Simone Biles saying, I thank them so much every day for giving me the opportunity to go out there and join the Olympics USA gymnastics team. I thank God every day for the USA gymnastics team and organization. Yet, you're going to backstab them. If you were being molested, you would not thank them hundreds of times in other interviews before this case. It's bullshit what you did. It's bullshit what all those girls did. Bullshit. On their mothers, on their fathers, on their families, and on them. In light of the lawsuit, Mckayla cut off the interview. Nassar would not be allowed to talk, but the attorney said he would make a statement addressing the allegations. He denies all the allegations. He's never heard these allegations before. No one from law enforcement, any other regulatory body, USA Gymnastics, any individuals, parents, no one has ever suggested that Dr. Nassar has done anything, which, of course, the mothers were there, and by my testimony as well, the fathers were sometimes there as well. They would have called him out on it, and they never did. Dr. Nassar has done... No one has ever suggested that Dr. Nassar has done anything in any context with either this gymnast or any other that he's aware of. This is the first time anyone's ever made such an allegation related to USA Gymnastics, Mckayla said. Again, this would be proven wrong. Others had complained. Perhaps others had complained. I don't know of any. I don't have any sources of parents complaining prior to this. If anyone has any links, send them to me and I'll research them heavily. Mckayla and Nassar parted ways not long after our interview. The split came after federal authorities served a search warrant at the embattled doctor's home and found 37,000 images of child pornography. Okay. This right here. When it comes to what police and government officials claim as child pornography, what was it? There was a doctor. I was watching a TV show. What was it? It wasn't 40. It was one of those like cop shows. It's really popular where they do like a 1-hour documentary on someone who's accused of something. A doctor kind of did what Larry Nassar did. He took family pictures of all of his patients and stuff, and videos of his procedures. And he was an old guy, had been doing it for like 30 or 40 years, something around there, 45 years, white hair, and he got permission from the parents and family members to take the images, to take the videos, to teach classes and whatever. But I assume something about him actually printing them out and having them in his office. He didn't get permission for that, and apparently that's breach of patient-doctor confidentiality. I don't know. I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense to have like a mother and her children. You're exposing them to complete strangers that walk in. You didn't ask for their permission. Privacy concerns. You don't want your kids out there. You don't want you out there in case, psychos and stuff. But when the police went into the doctor's computer They claim that all of these videos of the procedures, all of the pictures of him and the kids and the families, group photos and stuff like that, were child pornography. I don't fucking understand that. That's probably what happened here. That's probably what happened here. Is they weren't really, the girls weren't really naked. It was the videos and the pictures of his procedures. And they do this, I assume, quite a bit, just to make someone look more guilty, pin them into a corner. As I gathered my notebook and recorder, it was clear the lawsuit rattled Nassar. His eyes were watery, and he was trembling as I shook his hand and said goodbye. My last memory of the encounter was Nassar pleading for me to be fair and to consider the harm a story could do to his reputation and family. After I left, I drove to a parking lot of a nearby office building and called back to Indianapolis to share the little my interview had yielded. Our story was published on the internet that afternoon and in the Indianapolis Star the following morning. We were immediately bombarded with phone calls and emails from Nassar supporters. They, oh my god, I know this word, vociferously defended him, while questioning our motives, ethics, and truthfulness. Here's one of many examples. I am 150% sure that he is innocent. I do not appreciate the one-side reporting on. Okay, yes, this guy is kind of like one. This guy, Tim, in that earlier statement when he forced his opinion into the article, his assumptions into the article, yes, it was one-sided. But he has had, he's had some, I'll admit, in this article that was, evenly weighed. But it's mostly his opinion got in the way of journalism. One-sided reporting on the issue. Please, I urge you to look beyond making money by writing, and that's what they do. They write scandalous stories just for making money. And not enough people are attacking or taking lawsuits up against these newspapers, news websites, whatever, what have you, news sources. And they really need to when they write shit like this. Because now the internet is full of it. And TV's full of stuff like this. Unfair negative effect this is having on an innocent man's life. These false allegations bring me and my family so much sorrow. Please listen and also report on the many, many people who are coming to this man's defense. Yes, which they did not do. No news website did that. By focusing on these false allegations, you are doing good to no one. Since then, more than 150 women have come forward to say Nassar sexually abused, and many of those survivors are sharing their stories in the courtroom where Nassar will learn his fate later this week, and I'll be watching. Tim Evans, investigative reporter at IndyStar, do not call his phone number, please. Do not email him unless you're going to be polite, asking him questions about this case and this interview, this article, whatever. I give him my thoughts. And multiple times. Thank you for watching. Tell me your thoughts, sources, whatever, in the comments. Subscribe, share, like, whatever. Thank you.